Hi, my name is Jerry Wise, and I thank you for listening to the video today. It's entitled Healing Your Abandonment, 3 Steps and 3 Secrets. So first of all, what is abandonment? Abandonment is an emotional reactivity to a fear of loss or being left. It leaves us vulnerable to reacting to any actual or perceived distancing in a relationship. I want to share 3 steps and 3 secrets to healing and reducing abandonment reactivity in your life. Step 1. Identify and resolve and heal early abandonment which occurred during childhood. Basically what I'm saying is, to heal abandonment, we need to begin to look at our family of origin issues and do our family of origin work. To take a look at how we were abandoned as kids, and then it gets reenacted and re-experienced in our adulthood. For example, Mary grows up with an alcoholic father. She feels abandoned by her father when he's drunk or when he's high. She feels abandoned by her mother when her mom obsesses and worries about her dad and about his alcoholism. She develops abandonment issues and ACOA issues, which we call adult children of alcoholic issues. And what I strongly encourage people to do is don't run from this pain. Identify it, feel it, and heal it. And that's what we can do in therapy and in counseling. And I think that's the first step to healing abandonment in your life. Second of all, step 2, increase self-esteem and self-differentiation. Well, it sounds like I'm talking about the same thing, self-esteem and self-differentiation. They're really not the same thing. Self-esteem is something that occurs within us and how we feel about ourselves. Self-differentiation is healing the self within a system, being able to heal ourselves in relationship to other people. The lower our self-esteem, the greater the fear of abandonment and the greater the intensity of our abandonment reactivity. The lower the self-differentiation and sense of self, the greater abandonment problems we experience. Self-unawareness leaves us so vulnerable to reactivity and abandonment. One of the reasons we fear abandonment is we are not worthy of deserving of a relationship and being in a relationship with someone else. And if we don't feel as deserving, then we're going to fear being abandoned, because that's eventually what's going to happen. That's what we deserve. And low self-esteem is a distortion of our true selves. We see ourselves as less than, defective, shameful, unworthy, and therefore the rise of the fear of abandonment. If you knew me like I knew me, you'd abandon me too. And so healing self-esteem, raising self-esteem, and healing and raising self-differentiation is so important for reducing and healing abandonment in our lives. Step 3. To heal ourselves from abandonment issues and underlying fear of abandonment, we must recognize and choose to stop giving our power to others, or that emotional power to others. Those of us who suffer from abandonment are not aware of how much and how often we give our power away to other people. When I fear abandonment, I put all my sense of self and well-being in the hands of another. And that will create and repeat abandonment in our own lives. We give our power away, and then someone misuses it or abuses or hurts us, and then we feel abandonment again. But a part of that beginning part of that process is giving our power away in the first place. For example, 2 adults are dating, and she gets busy with taking care of a parent. The other, or he, fears abandonment. He doesn't hear from her about whether we're getting together or not this weekend. His abandonment gets triggered. He becomes reactive, and she calls him on Friday to get together, and he doesn't return the call to just show her, and this results in him giving all of his power of wellness and calmness and okayness about the relationship over to her. She controls his emotional life. Then he feels she has not handled the relationship well, so he becomes reactive. He fears she was pulling away and perceives she was pulling away, but really all the power was given over to her in terms of the wellness of the relationship. All the power of his sense of okayness in a relationship was given over to her, thus causing the reactive abandonment and that strong reactivity that he had. Giving power over to others only increases the fear of abandonment and our sense that we have no control, our sense of self and well-being. We don't have control of that. And when we give that over to others, which we so often do, whether in marriages, in friendships, in lots of relationships, when we give that away, we're likely to feel a sense of abandonment. And we who suffer from abandonment issues give our power away to others all the time. Healing begins when we choose to stop or resist doing this. Let me talk quickly about 3 secrets. Secret number 1 about healing your abandonment. Step 3 was about healing through refusing to give your power away, right? Secret 1 is about refusing to abandon ourselves. One way to heal abandonment is to stop abandoning ourselves. If you want to reduce abandonment reactivity and reduce the fear of abandonment, stop cutting off from yourself. Stop abandoning yourself. For example, we abandon ourselves by not standing up for ourselves, declaring and not declaring ourselves to others, by giving our power away, not identifying and expressing our needs, being overly critical, and as our assistant here, our executive assistant Nancy, talks about the Frau within us, and being very, she comes from a German background, being very forceful and strict and mean with herself is the Frau within her. And we let that take us over. That is a self-abandonment. We shame ourselves if we make a mistake, if we have a problem. We heap ourselves with shame and thus abandoning ourselves again. We leave addictions untreated. We shame ourselves. We keep toxic friends and family members. We don't take care of our inner child. That's a self-abandonment. We allow abuse by others, whether bosses or boyfriends or girlfriends or pastors or other friends, whomever. And this is self-abandonment when we do that. The more self-abandonment, the more fear of abandonment and abandonment reactivity we're going to experience. Also, not parenting ourselves well is another way to not to abandon ourselves. Basically running away from ourselves when we need to stand by ourselves, and we leave ourselves abandoned. Secret number 2. Healing our abandonment requires us to stop equating fusion and enmeshment with love. When we equate love and fusion, we support the foundation that any separateness, differentness, or distancing or leaving of any kind is an abandonment. In other words, if we have too much enmeshment, we're going to fear any change in that enmeshment causing abandonment feelings inside of us. Healing our view of love and building a new paradigm of love will reduce our reactivity and our abandonment episodes. For example, in my past, love or true friendship always equaled enmeshment. Either you needed to be totally into me or me into you, And if we didn't, then I believed we didn't have a strong relationship. If we didn't have that kind of relationship, we must agree on everything. We must share everything. And basically, it's an inappropriate closeness, an inappropriate intensity, an over-involvement with another. There's no clear interpersonal boundaries. We're only relying upon or needing another to fulfill one's own needs or to complete oneself. We also call this codependency. And that codependency holds very strongly the view that love equals fusion or enmeshment. Our sense of wholeness comes from another person, our family, or a group. Our society promotes and values emotional overcloseness, and they equate that as love. Just listen to the songs, listen to plays, movies, books. It all says enmeshment equals love. We must come to value a healthy balance of togetherness and separateness is what equals love, not just fusion. This will help us reduce our reactivity and fear of abandonment. Secret number 3. Stop cutting off from others and abandoning others as a way of dealing with conflict or challenges in relationship. One of the most common cycles experienced by codependents and those who have abandonment issues is the life on the pendulum. And I did a video on codependency, living life on a pendulum, shifting back and forth between enmeshment and cutoff. And for a codependent and for abandonment issue folks, we're either enmeshed or we're cut off. We need to resist both ends, the enmeshment and the cutoff. Healing and recovery requires us to attack this cycle on both ends. Stop the enmeshment and resist the cutoff. Just because someone disagrees with you, just because someone is not just exactly like you, or may have some difference with you, doesn't mean we need to cut off from them, even if we've had a conflict. Resist the cutoff. When someone fails you, hurts you, disagrees with you, doesn't treat you as special as you think, maybe even speaks ill of you, maybe even divorces you, don't cut off. Do this. Set boundaries. Care for yourself, but don't reject and cut off the other. Now, certainly there would be rules if there's physical abuse and those kinds of things, then a real physical cutoff is necessary. But in general, that emotional cutoff is not necessary. Or say we have a disagreement with a family member. Just because we have a disagreement, we can disagree, we can set boundaries, but we don't have to cut off. And my life was full of cutoffs, which only intensified and increased abandonment feelings and abandonment reactivity. If I begin to heal my cutoffs from others, that tends to reduce my fear of abandonment inside me. This reduces our fear of abandonment and experiencing cutoff from others. I wanted to share these things in the few minutes we had together. If you want more help or more information, call me at 317-919-6264. I can also work with you online. I appreciate you listening to the video today. Thanks again. Have a great day.